have been tested in Brawl Stars: Basketball, Volleyball, and Hold the Trophy. We're gonna go over how likely or unlikely it is for each of those 3 game modes to be added back to Brawl Stars, either on a limited time, seasonal basis like Graveyard Shift, or in a full-time rotational basis like Heist or Siege. And we're also gonna go over the biggest problems each of these modes had based on your criticism, and we're gonna go over feedback on how to improve each of those modes. By the way, we're not talking about Trophy Thieves, aka Present Plunder, because I already did a whole video going over how to improve this game mode back in December of 2019, and instead of putting in any improvements to this mode, they just changed the name and made it the exact same. So I'm not gonna waste my time on saying the same stuff I already said. All right, let's start out with the mode least likely to come back to Brawl Stars: Hold the Trophy. By far and away, this was the mode that, in my opinion, had the most problems, and I think this comment highlights it pretty well. 100% complete strategy for winning and Hold the Trophy. Rush the mid, get the trophy first, and go camp your spawn, you win. That's basically all you need to do in this mode. This highlights some of the biggest problems in this mode. Whoever gets the trophy first has a really big advantage. As long as you do it smartly, you take the trophy and you go back to your side of the map that has your spawn points. It should be pretty easy to keep the trophy, as your teammates will just keep respawning with that invincibility shield and be able to take out any enemies who come close to you or the trophy. And then combine this issue of trying to get the trophy from the enemy side of the map to your side of the map with the fact that both teams are probably playing something like Poco plus 2 tanks. In other words, the hardest brawlers or team comp to kill and take out. Which in a mode where staying alive and running in a circle is really the objective, it does make sense. But there was also the option to cheese your way to win on some maps and hold the trophy. For instance, if you had Dynamite, you could use your super in a corner of the map, blow open a hole, throw the trophy in it, and then use Dying to jump in yourself. And then, depending on the enemy team comp, you might just have a free easy win. Another big problem in this mode was the respawning. Overall, it was just really random and hard to predict. Not only would you not know where you would respawn, you wouldn't know where your teammates were going to respawn, and you wouldn't know where the enemy was going to respawn. It kind of just made it a confusing and hard to predict, hard to know what to do in this mode, which also just sort of exuberated the camping playstyle that you would try to just go with, to try to just play the safest possible route. But with that, here are some possible solutions to improve and fix this mode. First of all, make the map smaller. Overall, since the whole goal is to take the trophy and go to your side where your spawns are, make it so you have to travel less distance to go from one side of the map to the other, because you're going to end up having to do that. And especially when you combine that with the slower move speed of carrying the trophy, this would be a good change. You don't need to make the map as small as like a basketball map. Just make it a little bit smaller and it could help out. 2 other changes you could make to speed up the pace of this game mode would be to 1, make the trophy respawn in the center faster. Currently, it still takes quite a while in order for that trophy to get reset to the center, but since the trophy is oftentimes stuck in a corner with people defending it, if you make that reset even faster, this can help the other team who's trying to make that comeback get in the game a little bit easier. Another change would be to give more debuffs to whoever is holding the trophy. What I mean by this is currently when you hold the trophy, you move slower and that's it. Make it even more difficult. Either add on like poison damage so that the person can't heal while they're holding the trophy. You can make it like boss fight to where it's very minimal amount, but you can't heal at all, although maybe like a Poco super, but not over time. Or something else like have the move speed debuff just get higher and higher the longer you're holding the trophy. So if you're holding it for like 20 seconds, all of a sudden you're gonna be barely able to move, although you probably will be in the corner of your map. Still, it should make it easier for that enemy team to make that comeback. But admittedly, I like the poison example better because you could just pass it to a teammate and, well, you know. As far as how likely it is for this mode to come back to Brawl Stars, well, I polled you all on Twitter how much you liked this mode. 1, you loved it. 2, you liked it. 3, you didn't like it. And 4, you hated it. And let me tell you, over 2/3 of you either didn't like the mode or hated the mode. That is a really, really bad sign. Even if you implement all of these changes I talked about, I'm still not sure that enough people would like this mode for it to make sense in a permanent or semi-permanent status in Brawl Stars. So I don't think this mode has any chance of becoming a permanent mode in the game, but I do think it's possible that it could come back one more time with some changes, but even with that, I still don't think it has a chance. Next up, Volley Brawl. Overall, my favorite of the 3 new modes, but not to say it didn't have issues. And if I had to summarize them all into one word, it would be knockback. Yes, the mode of knockback, and that is where the majority of the issues happen. Yeah, it's a really fun mode. You can bounce the volley brawl back and forth. Technically, you can control where the ball lands, although it is difficult to do. But with a little bit of practice, you can sort of figure it out. But considering how obvious it is where the ball lands and how long it takes to get there, you can easily disrupt any enemy with a variety of brawlers who have knockback, most specifically brawlers like Gale with his super, a Dynamite super, an El Primo super, but most notably Sprout's super with his wall, which is the most unblockable and hard to stop of them all. While to a degree Brawl Ball has some of these problems, it's really not even close to the same, because in Brawl Ball you can only throw the ball a few tiles, and even you can coordinate with your teammates. It's hard to time up that knockback and where the ball is going because of how short and quick that throw of the ball really is. Meanwhile, in Volley Brawl, it can take over a couple seconds for the ball to go from one side of the map to the other, and it can be really, really easy for almost anyone of any skill level to time up whatever their knockback is with wherever the ball is going to land. But really the most broken of all of those is by far Sprout's super, since you can just place that wall over the circle and it'll last for over a couple seconds. There's not a lot the enemy team can do unless they also super that Sprout wall just to get rid of the wall so they can, you know, touch the ball. But overall, this is the biggest problem in Volley Brawl. There are some other small things, like in Poison Clouds are kind of an issue in this mode, kind of making it difficult to catch the ball, but also at the same time the Poison Clouds kind of cover up where it's landing. Overall, just kind of meh. Another small issue in this mode is that it would be nice to have a timer underneath the circle of where the ball is supposed to land, so you can know exactly how soon that ball is supposed to land. Just make it count down in seconds, you know, 2, 1, 0, the ball is going to land, whatever, or maybe have it change colors from like going to, you know, green, yellow, and red for how soon it's going to be landing. That way you can sort of gauge how quickly you need to be there, because that ball does speed up the more it goes back and forth, and it can definitely change in velocity fairly quickly. Another issue in this mode is the meta is actually really stale, and it's all a result of knockback being really strong. You're just gonna pick the brawlers, which have amazing knockback in this mode for the most part. There are some other exceptional choices sometimes. But as far as considering this mode to become more permanent, having a stale meta is a really big problem, because if this mode is showing up every other day or every couple days and all you're playing is the same 5 or 10 brawlers every single time, it really limits the potential of a mode for a long-term status. So if you want this mode to be a permanent mode in Brawl Stars, I think you need to change the effect of knockback in this mode. You can make it like in boss fight where you barely get stunned or it barely affects you every single time, or you can make it that impact only happen when you're right underneath the ball. That way you can safely return the ball as long as you can get there and stay alive, but it's not affecting all the people who are maybe not even close to the ball and just, you know, trying to do other stuff. Although admittedly, I think if you only have it underneath the ball, that might be a little bit confusing for new or noob-er players. If you make it so it's full-time, no matter where you are, that might make more sense. Overall, though, you guys really, really liked Volley Brawl, with over 2/3 of you either loving this mode or really liking it. I think this mode has a really good chance at coming back to Brawl Stars, probably most likely in a seasonal event slot where it's only coming back once or twice a year for a couple weeks or something. But maybe if you implement some of these changes, you iron out the kinks, it could possibly be in that rotational heist siege type slot. But the mode that seemed to be most well liked is Basket Brawl. Although that's not to say it didn't have issues, and there was a variety of ways that you guys wanted this mode changed and a lot of possible tweaks and directions that we could go in. One of the biggest complaints you guys had about this mode was the ball physics, and this one makes a lot of sense. You could have a bajillion bounces on the rim, and it just kind of didn't make sense. Not only did the bounces not get smaller, they also didn't really change in direction in a sensible way, like, you know, based on the direction you were shooting, or the direction the last bounce went, or the direction the basket is moving and how that should change the bounce. None of that really was factored in. And of course, it is possible to do this, I presume, because there are other mobile basketball games that have physics like this that work. I don't actually know how easy or hard this is to do, and I imagine it's probably difficult. So I can't say like, oh, here's how you fix ball physics. Just that we would like it improved. Another big complaint was about the maps in this mode. Overall, a lot of the maps felt really similar, and I think part of that is because the maps were in general smaller, so there was less room for adjustments and differences to be made between the maps. As a result, a lot of people also want the maps to be a little bit bigger. Part of that is because it's too easy to go from one side of the map to the other and score. El Primo, you know, just walking, getting the ball, and supering, passing to himself, and scoring all within a couple seconds is possible on these smaller maps. Some people really don't want that, especially when you factor in the invincibility shield that you can get and respawn and just jump across the map with. It is a bit of a problem. But if you do keep that smaller map, one thing you could do is reduce your invincibility shield duration upon respawn. This is especially critical though, because whenever you're trying to score underneath the basket, and let's say you just got a couple kills because you're playing well, allowing you to get close to the basket, right? But the enemy respawns is invincible, and you know, let's say you missed your shot and you're trying to get that rebound, it's not really possible. Getting rebounds should be more of a thing, and I think if you reduce the time of that shield, it should make it a little bit more possible. Another common complaint was the aiming lines were just in general not that helpful. They kind of wish the aiming lines went a little further, a bit like a sprout shot. I presume the reason the aiming line was so short is because if you are directly underneath the basket, they don't want that aiming line to go past the basket, I guess. That's probably the reason why. I still think it'd go a little bit further though. Another comment suggestion was the 5-point score limit was too small. It was too quick because you could end the game in 2 shots. One 2-pointer and one lucky 3-pointer can happen more often than you would think, and overall it just was kind of a weird experience to end the game in 2 shots. Make it at least 6 points. If you get 2 lucky 3-pointers, okay, fine. There's not a lot you can do about that, but make it at least 2 as opposed to just one random lucky 3-pointer ending a game. Or you could even make it 7 points. I think that's probably a fair amount of points as well. And speaking about points, why doesn't Basket Brawl allow buzzer beaters like real basketball? I mean, seriously, allow buzzer beaters. Those are so awesome to experience. Even if you lose by a buzzer beater, it's still exciting. I mean, just make it so that the game mode doesn't end if someone has shot the ball before time expires, and then just once time expires, just only end the game when the ball is either caught by someone or touches the ground. Based on the Twitter poll, you guys love this mode, and even based on the in-game poll by Brawl Stars, Basket Brawl was the most liked mode. I think Basket Brawl has the highest likelihood of coming back to Brawl Stars, although I also think it needs the most changes, so I don't think it will immediately go into a rotational slot like Heist or Siege. I think it needs to come back again as a seasonal event for a couple weeks with some of these changes, and then as long as it still has good stats, it can come back more full-time. If you enjoyed this, check out more great ideas to improve Brawl Stars right over there. Thanks so much for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace.